Good evening, and welcome to the Sapphire Theatre Company's presentation of Facing Grief, Managing Mother's Day. I'm glad you're here. If you have experienced it watching one of these virtual presentations before and you know how to say hello to me, feel free to go ahead and start populating those comments by saying hello. I'd love to know your name and where you're from. Hi, Tina. This program is brought to you by the Sapphire Theatre Company. I am the program manager. My name is Andrea Lott Haney, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about what you're going to see. In November 2023, the Sapphire Theatre Company developed and produced Facing Grief, Nourishing Loved Ones Through Loss, a special presentation of the Sapphire's award-winning Picture This program as part of the Spirit and Place Festival. Audiences were engaged by live enactments of real-life scenarios with opportunities to talk directly with characters. In response to the many requests for an encore of that show and the research that identifies Mother's Day as a difficult holiday for grievers, this year we are bringing it back with a new perspective. As with the original Facing Grief program, this one aims not to fix grief, but instead aims to provide those in support roles practice and language needed to show up effectively for those who grieve. This program was designed and retooled for Mother's Day with counselors, writers, and other experts on grief, as well as vital community partners to ensure authentic, relevant information and ongoing resources. As a content note, although there is no intent to discuss graphic violence or trauma details today, themes of loss can be difficult to hear. If you need a break at any time, we invite you to take one and rejoin us when you're ready. This session is intended as peer-to-peer support based on research from lived experiences and subject matter experts. Nothing expressed here is a substitute for mental health treatment. If you are experiencing a mental health emergency, please call 988. And now I'm going to explain our Picture This process that you're going to be seeing tonight. This program is live and virtual, and the actors will be presenting short scenes. Pay close attention to what you see and hear, what is and what is not being said or understood. At the crisis point, we will freeze the action of the scene, and then we will turn the conversation over to you. As you're watching the scenes, think about 3 essential questions. What, so what, and now what? So what is happening in the scene, or maybe what is not happening? So what? Why does it matter? And now what? What happens next? These are good questions for our process and for your thought process. We encourage you to comment in the conversation and ask the characters questions directly. When we move on to the next scene, actors will keep their same names but portray completely different characters. It's a new scenario with a new topic and a new setting. And I'm going to tell you how to go ahead and comment, even though I see some of those comments showing up. You can use the comment section of YouTube to speak. If you're logged in, you can ask questions, you can offer a point of view, etc. And we will be forgiving of all spelling and typos and errors as long as you are forgiving to us of anything that may happen. Again, this is live theater, even though it is coming to you on a screen. So I apologize if I mispronounce your name or if I misunderstand your point. Please feel free to keep commenting. The other way you can comment if you're not logged into YouTube or Facebook is to actually use our text line. That number is 317-966-7529. If you text that number, we have a producer who is monitoring that phone and will be populating the YouTube comment section with those comments that come in. So even though it may look like it's coming from the Sapphire Theatre Company, it is in fact coming from our text line in most cases. And if you haven't done so already, go ahead and use your preferred method of comment now to say hello. Tell me your name, where you're watching from tonight, and Thank you so much. Okay, we have Joan and Tina. Thank you so much for commenting and saying hello. And don't worry if you are late to log on, you are more than welcome to comment at any time. Somebody's watching from Greenwood. Hello from Greenwood. I'm also from Greenwood. And you are welcome to come and go as you please for this live program. It will be available after the fact if you can't watch it in its entirety this evening. So now we're going to get straight into our very first scene, and I'll describe what is happening, what you're about to see. So we have Daniel. He has been dating his girlfriend, Vicky, for over 6 months. He lives several hours away from his childhood home, but has finally decided that it was time to bring his girlfriend, Vicky, home to meet his mother over Easter weekend. It's the first night of their visit, and all is going well so far. His mother and girlfriend are getting along and joking together, sometimes lovingly at his expense. Mom Shantae has just finished cleaning up after they all enjoyed a dinner feast of Daniel's home-cooked favorites. Daniel and his girlfriend Vicky have a moment alone while his mom Shantae is making some coffee to continue their conversation. Picture this.
Look at you. You were scared that my mom was going to interrogate you. Look at you.
Yeah. I mean, it's been going really well, right?
It has been, yeah.
Oh, I was so stressed. I was so nervous. I mean, I'm glad it's going this way. Like, I know your mom is super religious, and I'm down to go to church this weekend. Like, that's fine, but it's not my thing, you know?
Well, I just can't believe you would think somebody wouldn't like you. Like, you're wonderful. You're wonderful, beautiful, smart. Shall I keep going?
I mean, only if you want to. But on like kind of a serious note, have you talked to your mom at all about like my family situation, like my mom specifically?
Baby, what I tell you, you can trust me, okay? Your secret is safe with me.
Well, I mean, it's not exactly a secret, Daniel. I mean, it's just like a touchy subject.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of people don't understand. They try to give me advice, and I just don't want to be uncomfortable, you know? It's like the first time.
I understand.
All right. I've got our after dinner coffees as promised.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. You're welcome. So Vicky, back to what we were talking about after dinner. I was talking to Daniel, asking about you, and he was telling me about y'all's days in school and your job. And he also mentioned that his ex-girlfriend, Kayla, is how you two met.
Whoa.
Is that right?
Oh, actually, yeah, I forgot about that.
Wow. Okay, so I pay for you to go to college, and what you learn is how to use your ex-girlfriend to get your current girlfriend. Is that right? That's what I paid for?
Too, Mom.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm just glad you're here and not Kayla. Kayla was crazy. Okay, that's what I called her, Crazy Kayla. Yes. We have a Mother's Day brunch every year, and he brought her one year. Girl, she acted a fool. She had a little too many drinks, got a little drunk, caused a scene. I couldn't believe it.
Speaking of Mother's Day brunch, the menu is always wonderful. What's on the menu this year?
Yeah, so we're going to have a lot of your favorites, Daniel, your Super Bowl food, as you call it. We're going to have the little wingettes. I'm going to make some meatballs, some spicy chicken dip, maybe, some spinach dip. It's going to be good.
She said that I might have to miss it this year.
What? Miss it? No.
Yeah, it's one of the only time Vicky's available. You know, she's usually working, so I was gonna spend some time with her.
Well, that's not a problem, Vicky. Why don't you come?
Oh,
yeah, we'd love to have you.
She can't. She's unable to.
That's very kind of you, but but you don't have to do that.
I insist. Come to the Mother's Day brunch. We would love to have you. We're gonna have plenty of food.
Thank you. But all the same, I'm probably just gonna have to miss it.
What? Are you worried about leaving your mom since it's Mother's Day? Because, you know, your mom is also welcome to come. The more the merrier. I mean that.
That's not possible, I'm afraid.
Oh my God. Vicky, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. You can bring whoever, an aunt, a grandmother, cousin, whatever. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that your mother might have passed away. I'm so sorry.
No, Actually, she's alive. As far as I know, anyway. I assume she's alive.
Okay, so then what's the reason you can't come to the brunch? Because I'm not getting it.
Well, let's just say she's the type to have a few too many drinks, cause a scene, and embarrass everyone.
Freeze.
Okay. So we saw some tension created in this scene, and I want to thank you for paying close attention to that scene. And audience members, as promised, this is your chance to get involved. I'm going to give you a chance to talk directly to the characters. I want to ask them your questions or share with them your thoughts. And I'm going to actually ask to talk to Vicky first, maybe without Daniel and Shantae. But before I do that, I want to specifically ask all of you, if you had to pick a character in that scene that kind of caused that communication breakdown and that tension. I am seeing from the text line people saying, oh, wow, awkward. Who made it awkward, in your opinion? If you had to pick one of the three, was it the mom, Shantae? Was it the son, Daniel, or was it the girlfriend, Vicky? Text me your thoughts about that. And as those come in, I want to actually see if I can talk to maybe just Vicky, if Shantae and Daniel can.
Is that a better?
Hi. Yeah, Vicky, hi.
Hey.
Hey, that looked really tense. I understand
bit.
there's some friction there with your mom. Do you want to say more about that?
My mom has battled with an alcohol problem for some time. She's just not a very nice person, especially when she's drunk, but kind of in general. And I've tried to talk to her about it. I feel like I've done everything that I can, but it's at a point where it's just better off avoided as a subject entirely.
Okay. Yes. I completely understand. And somebody has asked for the text line number, so we can put that up on the screen. Spencer, real quick. I'm sorry, I forgot to repeat that. It is 317-966-7529. You're getting a lot of comments and solidarity but I want to ask you, I understand you have tension with your mom, and that what you're describing sounds super hard, and I'm so sorry you're going through that. What about Mother's Day? What makes it hard how do you feel about Mother's Day because of that?
It's difficult. It's weird, like everybody's posting pictures of themselves as kids with their moms and doing these like really moving posts about how grateful they are and how helpful their moms have been throughout their lives. And I can't relate. So it's one of these days where I kind of just stay off social media and just kind of, I don't know, I guess I just ignore the holiday because it's certainly not like she's going to get a phone call or, a brunch or anything like that. It's just not the relationship we have.
Yeah, so you'd rather just ignore it. It sounds like Daniel kind of understood that was your desire, even if he couldn't really relate to why.
Yeah,
I think maybe Daniel and Shantae can maybe hear me, so I'm going to call them back in to the room here because some of the texters and commenters have some comments for you. I had a chance to learn a little bit more from Vicky. So a lot of people, Shantae, think that you maybe weren't picking up on the body language that Vicky was saying, and that it kind of caused some tension there. Can you talk to me about what you were thinking when Vicky was saying no thanks to the Mother's Day brunch? What were your thoughts and feelings on that?
Yeah, I thought that she was just saying no to be polite, or, she didn't want to be an extra person or a burden or anything. So I was trying more so to make her feel like she could bring anyone, she could come, she was very welcome. I hadn't considered that she might have a different relationship with her mother than I thought. Mother's Day is a very big deal in my family, and my sisters and my aunts, we all get together, and it's such a beautiful day that I guess I didn't think about the other versions of that day and how it might go for other people.
And okay, that makes sense. I understand that. A question that came in from the text line is for you. Um, do you think like even consciously or subconsciously, were you trying to encourage Vicky to come just to maybe see your son? Like, was that the ulterior motive?
Well, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if he says he's not going to come because Vicky can't come, then by all means bring Vicky. Yeah, I definitely wanted my son there.
Okay. Um, you know, I want to ask Vicky, if it's not too painful, maybe it might do Shantae some good to hear this. One of the texters asked, or from Facebook, when Vicky did you last see your mom? How is it worth checking back in with her? Do you think? Is there any hope for that?
It's been, I want to say easily 2 years, maybe more. And this is kind of why I don't want to talk about it too much or bring it up, because people are always asking, like, is there any hope? She's your mom. Maybe you should just reach out and try. But there have been plenty of instances of, me trying to set something up so we can talk frankly about how she's made me feel or she continues to make me feel. And they're ultimately just not productive discussions. So I've just kind of gotten to the point where I've almost like grieved that relationship already. And I'm kind of at a point where I'm just ready to leave it where it is.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. And I want all of you to comment on the body language you're seeing from Shantae and from Daniel, even as Vicky is sharing that. Also, I want to ask you, the audience, to talk about Daniel. He's a character we really haven't talked too much yet. And I want to know, what should we say to Daniel in this situation? And while those comments are coming in, I want to comment about what Vicky said about grieving that relationship, even though mom is still alive. And that's something we call ambiguous grief. Ambiguous grief is when maybe you're grieving something that isn't exactly the loss or the death of a person. It could be something very complicated, like they're still alive, but you no longer have that relationship, or even the grief of a concept or a time. And so these types of grief, are very real to the people experiencing them. So a couple of things. First of all, Shantae, do you feel blindsided by this news?
I mean, I would have loved to have this information. I sort of feel like a fool that I was going on and on about this. I do wish I had a bit of a heads up.
Yeah. Okay. Very good point. And we do have a very astute question for Daniel, who hasn't really been in the hot seat yet. Why didn't you ask, Daniel? Why didn't you take your mother into another room and explain the situation? Why didn't you kind of grease the wheels, as it were, so it would be easier on Vicky?
I was asked by Vicky to keep that part of her life.
Is that
allow it
true,
to be
Vicky?
hers. I'm sorry?
Is that true, Vicky? Did you ask him not to tell anybody?
Well, I mean, I wanted it to be the right time. It's important. It's not necessarily a secret. But I also I just didn't want it to come up like this. But I didn't have any, ideas or advice on how to bring it up with her. And
Is
yeah.
is that my place to bring it up?
Good
I
question.
mean, it should be on her time, right?
Good question. Daniel's really pushing back on this, and I want you, the audience, to answer that. Should Daniel have said something? He was under the impression that Vicky did not want him to share it. Vicky was kind of under the impression that, like, no, it's not like I want to talk all about it, but I don't know if it would have made things easier if Daniel had a second to share. on a final note, as you're answering that question, so a couple of people do say it is Vicky's news to share, and another comment from Facebook says it seems like not talking about it is creating more problems. So, audience, we need to cut this a little bit short on time, but just on a final note, I want you to help give someone some language. So pick anybody in this scene, pick Vicky, pick Daniel, or pick Shantae, and comment now or text. What is something that they could say or do that would make this situation a little bit easier or better? Daniel, you know your mother best. When it started getting difficult, you could have pulled your mother aside. Okay, so that's maybe a piece of advice for Daniel. Things were going well before this, and how did they get out of this messy conversation? That's a very good question. So the now what? Shantae, let's hear from you. What would be what do you think should happen next? What would you want to say to Vicky now that you know the whole story?
I agree with that last comment of I thought we were having a great conversation and I was trying to be very welcoming. I certainly didn't mean to offend her. I would have never said that story if I'd known. I didn't mean any harm. I was just trying to welcome her and make sure she felt welcome and, kind of tease them a little, have fun. That's the relationship I have with my son, is we tease each other. So I thought I was including Vicky in that. So yeah, I agree. I just want to figure out, how do we now get back to where we were before during dinner?
Thank you so much to the characters in the scene. I'm going to dismiss them for now, because as I said in the introduction, we are not here to fix these situations. Instead, we're here to grapple with that conversation. What's hard and sticky about it? And in giving our characters, our actors, advice, remember that your brain doesn't know the difference between rehearsal and performance. So by practicing these communication skills in this situation, you're actually helping to learn them for yourself. And so I appreciate you grappling with this. This is sticky. We're not going to fix it in the time we have allotted. We are going to move on to a completely new scene and a completely new topic. Now, as promised, it's the same 3 actors, so you will get to see them again. However, they are playing completely different characters. It's a completely new scenario, and forget everything you knew about them from before. They are keeping their same names, and that is for my sanity and yours, that you don't have to learn new names. But again, it's a completely new scenario and a completely new topic. So get ready to comment or to text on this one. Vicky and Shantae have been neighbors and pretty good friends for many years. Their kids have grown up together, and the families have shared several significant life events. A shooting in the parking lot of the local middle school rocked the neighborhood last year. It happened during a dance that all their kids attended, and Vicky's daughter Zoe died. Shantae's 2 children were unharmed, but several of others were injured. Shantae invited Vicky to catch up several times over the past year. Vicky has finally agreed to come over to Shantae's house for a short visit. Shantae's husband is supportive of Shantae, but chose not to be at home or have the kids at home for Vicky's visit. Picture
Yeah, Vicky should be here actually any second now. So yeah, I know. I can't believe it's the 1-year anniversary of the shooting. I mean, it's so wild. It feels like it just happened yesterday. Yeah. And how close Vicky and I used to be. It's wild. I really want to reconnect. I was just thinking about the day of the shooting. That morning, Vicky dropped Zoe off at school like normal. And then she came over here and started showing me all these pictures of Zoe on her phone. And Zoe had on this new dress and she looked beautiful. I mean, she stood there so tall, so proud. It's just so wild to think that she's gone now. She had such a future, such a bright future ahead of her. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, of course, I wish I could have stayed in touch more with Vicky, but I don't know. I'm not sure how to approach it. I mean, I'm not even sure about this Mother's Day cookout, you know? Should I invite Vicky? Do you think like it'll be too much for her, or do you think it'll make the other moms uncomfortable? Like what do I do here? Yeah. Oh, hold on. The ring camera's letting me know Vicky's here. Doors open. Hey, yeah, I'll call you after, all right? Okay, love you too. Bye. Hey, Vicky, come on in, come on in.
Yeah. Oh,
Good to
yeah.
see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
Yeah,
Are Ray and the kids here or?
no, Ray, he's out running some errands and took the kids with him, you know, try to get them out of the house, all that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So why don't you sit here, settle in? I'll go get us some drinks out the kitchen.
Yeah.
Vicky, you still drink Chardonnay? Vicky, did you want wine?
No, Shantae, thank you. That's okay.
Okay. Are you not drinking anymore, or is that just for tonight? Vicky, can I get you anything else? Water, or tea, or
Shantae, thank you. That's okay though. I really don't even know how long I can stay.
what? No, Vicky. You have to stay. I was looking forward to this.
Yeah.
We've got a whole new season of Love is Blind to watch. Right? Wine and wine.
Yeah, I know, you're right. Yeah, and I've been looking forward to it too, you know, like you said, I'm so behind on the
Yeah.
show. I was just honestly like kind of nervous to come over, you know, but I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I've been a little nervous, but I'm glad you're here. You know, it's been so long. I think over a year since you've been over here, and
Yeah.
we live in the same neighborhood, so it's about time.
Yeah. I mean, you haven't been over to my place either. So yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't ignoring you. I just didn't know. I know you had a lot going on, and I wasn't sure if it was the right time. I just didn't want to intrude.
Yeah,
you
no,
know.
I understand.
Yeah. But I saw that you went to visit your mother in Colorado.
I did.
That's
Yeah.
great. Good that you got
Yeah.
a little vacation time.
Yeah, it was good to see her.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would call it like a true vacation, you know, like I mostly just spent time at her place, you know. It was mostly just to like get away from everything here, you know, to not be so reminded all the time and not have to answer all these questions. And it was good to like get some space, but it wasn't just like a vacation, you know.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to imply that it was just like some
Yeah,
pleasure
yeah.
trip or something. You know,
Yeah.
I'm just glad that you got a chance to kind of get away and to grieve.
Yeah, and it was good. I'm still grieving, you know, obviously. It's hard, you know, every day, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine going through what you're going through.
Can I be frank with you?
Yeah.
Were like Ray and the kids, like, were they uncomfortable with the idea of me coming over? Like, did they not want to see me?
No. Ray just needed to get out, and you know, he brought the kids just in case he needed help or you know any of that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's just we were all such good friends, and the kids were great friends, and you know, they'd come over to my house, and Zoe would come here, and
Yeah.
it's just like, have they even mentioned Zoe? Have they asked any questions about her at all? Or?
And you know how kids can be. You know, they're self-absorbed and
Yeah. Maybe I should go.
what? No,
Yeah.
Vicky, no, please. I want you to stay. We haven't seen each other in so long, and besides, I think it's really good that you got out.
Freeze.
Okay, this is a really hard scene to watch, but now is your chance to comment. And I've seen a couple of comments already come in. Feel free to comment on YouTube or Facebook, or to text us at 317-966-7529. I'm going to ask Vicki if she can hear me to just go ahead and stay at Shantae's a little bit longer so we can talk to both of them. And but while I do, while I have them waiting, as the comments come in, I want you to answer this question. If you were in Vicki's shoes, I mean, do you think she should stay a little longer and try to have this conversation with Shantae that was clearly awkward and hard? Or if you were Vicki, would you go ahead and get up and leave at this point? I mean, what would you do? What are your thoughts? I've seen a couple of comments already come in, and so we're going to go back to that living room, and I want to pose these to the characters. First of all, thank you, Vicki, for hanging out just a little bit longer so we could talk to you. And I just want to express that my heart is with you in this time.
Thank you.
So Widowhood Real Talk with Tina said that we can tell that Shantae, that you really care about your friend, but you don't know how to navigate this situation. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And I want to ask the audience, like, tell me, share with me if you've ever been in a similar situation as Shantae, where you really care about somebody who is in deep and profound grief and you just don't know what to say. Share if you identify with that. And also, Tina agrees with you, Vicki, that it was certainly not a vacation. It's just difficult when you don't have the language. Do you ever feel when you're trying to express like where you went or what you were doing that you don't have the language?
I mean, yeah, I like Shantae said, a lot of people are like, oh, it's great. She's going on vacation. She's getting her mind off of it. And I really don't know that that's what I was doing. It certainly didn't feel like my mind was off of it for really any significant period of time. It mostly just felt like when my mom was there, I didn't have to like have everything else on my mind at the same time. You know, it mostly was giving me a break from my life instead of a break from my grief, you know? So
Yeah.
it was productive and it was useful. And I don't know how I would have made it through that first period there without her, but it wasn't like a getaway, so to speak.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That makes sense. When your mind is so heavy with the grief, the day-to-day tasks of surviving just are exponentially harder. So a texter says, Shantae, this is for you, that you need to be honest with Vicki, that Vicki can already tell that something is up. Tell the truth. Ray and the kids. Are they on some necessary errand tonight for real? I think Vicki really wants to know.
No, honestly, they're not. Ray is just as awkward, if not more awkward in these situations as I am. I'd say I'm probably a little closer to Vicki. So, you know, it's also probably a little more awkward for him because of that reason. And the kids, you know, that was a traumatizing time for them as well. I just didn't know if it would stress them out or, you know, we've known Zoe pretty much her whole life. These kids have played together. They've been over both of our homes. And I mean, what's the right answer? How do you put kids through that? What do you say? Is it wrong that they went away, or would it be better for us to all sit here and be awkward? I mean, I didn't know how to approach this.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And I do want to hear, audience, feel free to comment and answer it for Shantae if you know the answer. Is it better to be awkward in a situation where somebody is profoundly grieving or not? And Vicki, I guess you're the person centered in this right now. So I need to ask you. It seemed like you were hopeful you might see the kids. You were asking about them for a reason. What do you think is better?
I mean, I'm certainly no expert for everyone. And I'm
Right.
sure it's different for
Right.
everyone. But I guess I was kind of like hoping I would get to see them, you know, like I would get to talk to them or maybe get some new perspective from them, like if they were grieving themselves. And maybe I could have communicated that up front, but
Yeah.
it's just been so different. Because like you said, like we said, we used to be like so sort of enmeshed in each other's lives and just around each other
Mhm.
that the loss is made more profound without you guys. And yeah, I miss you guys. So I don't know how to say what's right. But I would have liked maybe to just have a frank conversation about how hard it's been, maybe.
And I think that some people agree with you. Tina said Vicky is looking for honesty, and that seems to be echoing what you said. And that it's really rough. And somebody asked a question by text. Vicky, have you been lonely? Do you have other people to talk to? Like, how are you feeling?
I have a grief counselor. I have
Sure. Great.
specifically for this, who has been invaluable. She's been amazing through all of this. It was actually her idea that I accept this invitation because Shantae has reached out and I appreciate it. I don't want to like devalue those attempts because they mean something. But I just hadn't felt ready, or maybe I was afraid that it would be uncomfortable. But she gave me this push of like, the longer you put it off, the more afraid you might become of it. And so it was actually my grief counselor's idea to come out. She suggested I start socializing. So this is just kind of like the first steps there. So I haven't really been social or like out very much lately.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I think that you hit on, in listening to you talk, you've hit on things that other grievers really experience, which is the abandonment. That when we're awkward and we don't know what to say, sometimes we say nothing, and that leaves us feeling abandoned by people who are closest to us. And I think I also heard, you missing, Shantae and Ray's kids. And that's a secondary loss that people, don't talk about, that, if they grew up with your Zoe, that you might miss seeing them too. Um, and it says, there's a lot of solidarity here in the comments, that child loss is so terrible. I wouldn't know what to say, and I wouldn't want to offend Vicky. Um, and I want to put that both to Vicky, and I want to put that to the audience. Are there things that somebody can say that, for instance, there is one right thing that everybody can say and that it would be magically all better? I don't think so. And what kinds of categories of things would somebody say that would be offensive? Uh, Audience, if you have any thoughts about that, share those. And I'm going to ask Vicky, what about you? For you personally, I know you don't speak for all bereaved mothers.
Yeah. The things that have been good to hear, or I suppose the best to hear, have been just condolences, sincere condolences, people who recognize what a profound loss it is. But sometimes I feel like action is more important than the words, because they're so hard to find, because it's so difficult. When people are offering food or doing dishes or things like that, those are really helpful. Like, that's what I tend to prefer, is just to like
Day-to-day
do
survival.
something off my plate. But as far as like verbal stuff, like condolences, and just like also just giving me space to be honest about how I'm feeling and how it's affecting me.
Yeah, thank you for that. There's a question that came in for Shantae. Shantae, did you think that Vicky would be uncomfortable seeing your children since her daughter has passed? Is that part of what you were protecting her from?
I mean, yeah, was it gonna be weird for her? Would it make her feel worse? I mean, I won't lie, there's also some of my own guilt in there, like my kids are still here. And even though that was a tough thing they went through, they're still alive and I still get to see them. And, I didn't want it to seem like I was rubbing that in her face by them being here. I just didn't know what was going to make things the most comfortable and for Vicky and also for my kids.
Yeah. Thank you for that. So I think I have a suggestion to make, which is that, as Vicky said, she doesn't speak for all bereaved mothers, and everybody is going to feel individual. Widowhood Real Talk with Tina says, I don't think there is a universal right thing to say. I wish there were. So maybe sometimes we communicate and we ask the grieving person. They may not know, and their answer may change day to day, but like, hey, I'm so glad you decided to come over. Would it be best for the kids to be here, or would you prefer it be just us ladies? That kind of thing, and be really clear about the communication. Heather Ann Jackson says, joining late. I've had 9 miscarriages. My hairdresser, not knowing that, said the other day, OMG, I wish you'd had a baby. You'd be such a great mom. And he doesn't know this, but it was so rough while sitting there with hair dye. And I think that that's a really good example of, communication. And you may not know what's inside somebody at any given time, but just being aware and being sensitive, and not necessarily saying something that would step on somebody's bereavement, but at the same time, um, continuing to reach out. Vicky has already said that she values that, and not taking, the first no as a final answer. And I want to ask the two of you, and then I'm going to let you go. We heard you mention the Mother's Day cookout when you were on the phone with Ray, Shantae, and you weren't sure whether you wanted to talk to Vicky about it. I want to ask, Vicky, this is you first time hearing about it. I'm sure you know about the neighborhood tradition, but would you want to be invited, Vicky and Shantae? Maybe listen and see what your feelings are after Vicky answers that.
Would I want to be? I mean, I would love to have the option to attend, or an invitation, or just to be thought of, because I feel like I'm still going to be a mother. Like it. I may not have a child who is like living, walking around, but she's still a part of me, and she's always going to be a part of me. And again, like, so many of these moms in the neighborhood know each other and each other's kids, and it would be good to feel welcome in the space. But then ultimately, I don't know how I would feel until I would get there. So I would like to have the option to try and attend, but then also maybe some grace to maybe leave early or to change my mind. Just it really is kind of a day-to-day process.
And Shantae, how do you feel hearing that?
Yeah, I mean, hearing that, and a lot of the people who have written in and said things, I've really learned that maybe it's going to be awkward, and that's okay. Maybe it won't be awkward. Maybe, I think being awkward is not the point. So I think at this point, I would offer an invitation to Vicky, and then she can decide whether she comes, whether she doesn't want to, how long. I think it's just a matter of still including her, and still being there for her in whatever way she needs.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And thank you for that. And I'm going to go ahead and dismiss the two of you. Thank you for talking through this, because you're right. Awkward is better than alone. And a question came in while we were having this conversation, because I breezed over the topic of secondary losses and what is a secondary loss. And I think how that scene kind of wrapped up, you saw that in play, how Vicky lost her daughter Zoe primarily, but in addition, she lost her best friend. She lost her best friend's kids. She lost her community, her feeling of belonging. And all of those are those secondary losses. And so when we approach a grieving person, just knowing that they might be going through that, might inform how we show up for them, even if we are awkward at times, that they haven't just lost the person, but they've lost so much more on top of it when that person is their everything. Thank you for this conversation, and I really appreciate you participating, but we are going to move on just because of time, because we do have one more scene. Once again, I'm going to remind you that I'm using the same 3 actors, but they are playing completely different characters, and their names are the same, but forget everything you knew about them from the previous 2 scenarios. Before I get into the setup for that scene, I want to just let you know that right after this scene, we are going to have a panel conversation with some of our subject matter and community lived experience experts, including our special guest, Tina Fornwald from Widowhood Real Talk with Tina. Tina is a grief coach and has a community of over 4 million people of grievers that she helps both online and in person through coaching, retreats, and events. And we are going to have this panel conversation and debrief, so we don't just leave you with these heavy and dramatic scenes. We will get a chance to talk afterwards as well. So I will give you the next scene while I invite you to stay around for that panel conversation. Now, for this scene, it is Daniel's the dad, Daniel's wife, and Shantae's mom. Shantae is the daughter. Daniel's wife and Shantae's mom, Delilah, passed away just over 6 months ago after a very long bout with cancer and over a year in hospice. Shantae took lots of time off to help her dad take care of her mom at that time, and it wasn't easy because she lives a couple hours away. Now she has to make up all that missed time at work. Daniel and Shantae are on their weekly father-daughter Sunday afternoon Zoom call, catching up on life events. Shantae is sorry she didn't come home the previous week for Mom's birthday. Her family just couldn't make the trip. She knows things have been hard for her dad, Daniel, since Mom died. She's tried to get out to see him more over the last year, but it isn't easy. The first Mother's Day since Delilah died is coming up, and neither Shantae nor Daniel have discussed any plans until today. Picture this.
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes, Dad, I see you. I hear you just fine.
Hey.
So, Dad, I really wanted to, I guess, apologize for not being there for Mom's birthday. I mean, I know that couldn't have been easy.
Yeah, don't.
On, and this is her first birthday without her being here. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
So, Dad, how are you? I mean, are you really okay?
Yeah. I'm good. The question is, how's my grandbaby doing? How is she doing?
Chelsea's fine, or I guess she's fine now anyway. They gave them candy at school, and I guess she ate too much of it or something. Threw up neon colors all over her dress. I couldn't believe it.
I remember how y'all kids were with candy. Luckily, your mama was a genius with that soap detergent, getting out all stains and stuff.
She was.
Mm-hmm.
So, Dad, what have you been up to? What have you been doing lately?
I've been keeping busy. Got my Sudoku. A baseball is about to start up. So I've got plenty of stuff to keep me busy.
I know you're excited for baseball starting.
I definitely
I
am.
wish I could go with you. I wish I could visit a little bit more. It's just been a little difficult. I mean, my job was great about giving me time off while Mom was sick, but I'm sort of having to make that time up now, so I can't get over there as often as I'd like to.
Yeah, that's fine. It's understandable. It is. Mother's Day's coming up. You got any plans?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure what we're planning on doing for Mother's Day.
I've been thinking about Mother's Day a lot. I mean, it was a special holiday for for me and your mama. You know, we used to go to flower shops, get all these flowers, and spend weeks getting the flowers. Then we'll put them in the flower bed and hang them up all around the house and stuff.
Really?
Oh man, that was hey. Hey, if you don't have plans, why don't you come up here visit me on Mother's Day? We could go get flowers. We can pick them. We can put them in the yard or maybe hang them around. Put some in Chelsea's hair. You know, I think she would
Um,
love that. That'd be great.
yeah, she would love that. Yeah, I don't know, Dad. I'd love to be able to come there, but I'm just not sure that's going to be able to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, but you're more than welcome to come visit us anytime you like. You can come see us.
As much as you and your husband work, I hardly ever get to see you. So no, that's all right.
Dad, I mean, be honest. Are you really okay?
Look, I'm fine. I am. And I'm sure you have family stuff to get back to. So, let's just pick up this call next week, okay?
Freeze.
Okay, I'm going to have Daniel stay on the call for a minute, but I want to talk to Shantae first. Before I do, again, I'm going to remind you that this is your time to comment. Feel free to comment directly in the YouTube or Facebook comments, or you can text us at 317-966-7529. Tell us about what you saw. And as you do, I want you to answer this question. It seems like Shantae already had plans for Mother's Day. She's a mom, so maybe she's centered in this day. But also Daniel seems very upset and disappointed as her dad that, she can't come and spend Mother's Day with him, the first Mother's Day since his wife and her mom has been gone. Who's right in this situation? Tell me who you feel is right. And as those comments come in, we'll talk to Shantae. Excuse me. Excuse me. For that. So, Shantae, it's so that scene with that call with your dad, it seemed like, you were hesitant to tell him that you actually do have plans on Mother's Day. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, I am a mother as well. So my husband did make plans for Mother's Day. This was, the first year that we didn't think we'd be going to see my mom for Mother's Day. So he made separate plans, and I just didn't want to tell my dad that he says he's fine and that everything's okay, but I'm not sure that he is fine, and I didn't want that to upset him more.
Yeah. You're getting some solidarity in the comments. Somebody says, OMG, that's my dad. It's so hard to get an honest answer out of him. I think a lot of us can relate, that I guess, I don't know, audience, you tell me, is it that dads are like this? Is it that men are like this? Do they want to hide their grief? Do they want to not talk honestly about it? And let's try to help this along if we can. Audience or commenters, if you can maybe give Shantae some words that might help her break through this, because she's clearly asking her dad what's going on, and somebody says it's like in the last scene, the truth can't be hidden. Shantae, you can tell as his daughter that something is wrong, and it can eat away at their trust. Is if he's not honest. And somebody says, Daniel, how are you really? She asked many times, but I don't think you ever gave an honest answer. So I want to ask that question to your dad, and maybe if you're not on the call, maybe he'll answer it a little bit better. So don't go too far, but I'm going to pull your dad up and ask him this question directly. Okay, Daniel. So now that Shantae's not on the call, some of us have noticed that maybe you're not doing great. Maybe you're not telling Shantae the truth. And somebody wants to know, how are you really? I know Shantae asked you many times and you say you're fine, but that doesn't seem like the honest answer. What's the real answer?
Um, I'm lonely. I'm used to having someone else at the house. It's just me here now. So, and I don't want to be a burden.
Yeah.
I mean, she's dealing with this death just as well as I am. So I don't want to be an extra burden on her. So it's just best to play tough, to play tough.
Yeah, and Tina agrees with you. She says it seems our society has not given men space to share their pain and be transparent about their feelings. And um, I just want to say to you, Daniel, what if you did tell Shantae what you just told me? How would you feel about saying those exact things to her?
She has enough on her plate with Chelsea, the passing of her mother, her husband. She doesn't need more. Um, I can understand that she wants to help, but so do I. And I think the best way for me to help is to keep it inside.
And somebody understands that and says, I'm a parent and I do the same things to my kids. I don't want to burden them. And as uncomfortable as it is, I just want to bring Shantae up with us just for just a moment. And maybe with me saying this to both of you, um, a texter says that she's going to worry about you anyway, Daniel, whether you're honest or not. Is that true, Shantae?
Absolutely. And also I worry if you're not telling me how you're doing, if I can tell you're not okay and you're not talking to me, what are you doing? Who are you talking to? I'd much rather you talk with me, connect with me, and we can help each other rather than you bottling this in or trying to deal with it by yourself.
And
I, I,
Daniel?
I do. I hear you. I do hear you. It's just, I lost a best friend, and it, it's, you look at me for strength as a provider. So it just doesn't, it's not normal for me to discuss all of that with you. So it will take time.
And I understand that we're not going to solve this in one conversation. And so I'm going to leave it with this last comment from Tina. Just a question, and you don't even have to answer. Just think to yourself, Daniel, how would it look if you and your daughter grieved together honestly?
Mm.
And because of time, I'm going to let you both go while we think about that question. Because, like I said, the picture this process is not about solving or fixing grief. If we could do that, I would have done it already. It's about getting us to ask ourselves those questions and to think about really what would our answers be. And I don't have all those answers, but I do want to bring this scene up as it relates to Mother's Day, because widowers who have lost their wife and the mother of their children are maybe a group we don't think about on Mother's Day, and maybe we could. So stick around, texters and commenters and people on YouTube, please stick around, because as I promised, there will be a panel conversation. We're not just going to leave you hanging. And we do have some expert perspectives on all of the issues that we brought up during this program. And I just want to thank you one last time for joining us. And if you want to share this program, it will be available. They can't comment live, but they will be available to view it right here where you viewed it on YouTube. Again, my name is Andrea Lott-Haney, and thank you for joining us for the Sapphire Theatre Company's presentation of Facing Grief, Managing Mother's Day. Please stick around for the conversation.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight for this important conversation that we've started on managing the many, many, many different types of grief that many of us deal with on Mother's Day. I'm Bonnie Mill. I'm the Executive Artistic Director of the Sapphire Theatre Company. And we anticipated that there would be quite a conversation around this. And we also know that many of you join us after the live event. So I know many of you will see this in a later date. But we wanted to have a panel discussion to discuss more in depth some of the issues that we brought up during the scenes. And so I'd like to invite somebody onto our virtual stage here who's been backstage supporting us behind the scenes, and you may have seen her comments, and that's Tina Fornwald. Tina is the founder of Widowhood Real Talk with Tina. It's a nonprofit organization that creates safe spaces for candid discussions on the grief journey and connects the widowhood community with the extensive range of professionals, materials, and support groups to foster encouragement, healing, and hope. You're amazing, and I'm so grateful that you're here tonight with us. Do you want to tell everybody just a little bit more about yourself to hopefully even welcome them into your community, because grief is such a universal thing that we all deal with?
Bonnie, I want to say, first of all, thank you for allowing me to participate. When we just did the practice run, I was amazed. And just seeing what's happened from that, I mean, I felt like I was there. I was like, what's she? And I was like, I'm that mother. Then I was like, the father's got to talk. I was like, okay, I'm over here trying to find tissue. I mean, I know that you guys did this out of a sheer heart. This is acting, but this is portrayal of real situations.
Yeah.
And I can relate to each one of those. I had a parent that was an alcoholic. I've had a miscarriage. I am a widow. And all of those things resonate with me. And I think that is the thing. Everyone, if we're lucky, we're going to experience some type of grief. Right. If we're lucky to have some type of experience. And all of those things I mentioned were the birthing of Widowhood Real Talk with Tina. I'm from Chicago, so the word hood to me means family. Yeah. And when my husband passed, my children lost their dad. His siblings lost a brother, his nieces and nephew, friends. It is not just the person up close, and it is the people in their community that is experiencing that grief, and they're all trying to navigate the loss of the same person, but different relationship. And the portrayal of the awkwardness is such a real thing, and people trying to understand what to say and navigate that. And you guys, you nailed it. You showed it very well. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I also want to bring on our dear friend, Andrea, who you all have met before. And she is an inspiration to all of us at the Sapphire, and the inspiration for a lot of the grief work that we do and have gotten into. So I know, Andrea, everybody got to see you tonight, but not everybody may know, especially our Sapphire audiences, your entire story. So if you wouldn't mind sharing just a little bit of that.
Yeah, so my personal connection to this material has to do with the fact that I'm a widow. In 2010, my husband, Gary, passed away of a sudden cardiac event. I was there and did CPR, and the ambulance was there within 3 minutes, but he could not be revived. And my daughter was just a young child at the time at home, and things were just very hard. I thought my life was over. And then one of the people that really helped me in my grief was my childhood best friend, Brian. And he just did, his dad passed away the same way Gary had. And he remembered what his mom had gone through and was just really there for me and my daughter. And eventually we fell in love and we got married 2.5 years later. And this unfortunately ended up not being this happy story of overcoming grief, because in 2022, he passed away of pancreatic cancer. And so Before I was age 50, I was widowed twice. And the first time when people would say platitudes or cliches to me, I just kind of like didn't enjoy it, but I didn't know why. And I couldn't really put a voice to it. But then over the course of losing two husbands in less than 15 years, over those course of years, I sort of found my voice. And I work for the Sapphire Theatre Company, which is a social issues theater company. And so giving a voice to important topics is what we do. And so with that experience, after, joining the Sapphire and, my lived experience, I became more vocal about my story and what I've experienced. And then Bonnie and I were talking about Mother's Day and how complicated it is for grief, and how this is my first Mother's Day without my mom. And I might be compelled to ignore it because I also don't have my husband to celebrate me as a mom. And my daughter typically works on holidays. But she's grown, and this is her first Mother's Day as a mom. So my first Mother's Day as a grandma. And so it feels wrong to kind of ignore it. And so I have these complicated feelings about it that I didn't know how to process. And we process it through applied theater and through the arts. And so I was very fortunate to be able to be a part of this, together with our other subject matter experts who contributed to this program, who could not be with us here this evening live, but are all listed on the Sapphire Theatre Company website. So I want to make sure that I point people in that direction, that there's a wealth of other resources available for various types of grief. And we did take people who had losses due to shootings and child loss and their lived experiences, as well as professionals, into account when we were writing these scenes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And I'm so grateful that we've been able to talk about your grief and turn it into something that is conversations that other people need to have about grief, which both of you have dedicated a lot of time to. My first question to you all, and I have my own answer too. In all these scenes, was there something in the scene, or are there other things about Mother's Day in particular that are challenging to you?
Challenging now versus what was challenging in the early part of
like now.
My situation now, what Mother's Day looked like with my husband, my late husband was alive, and what my children remember, and wondering how much do they have an ebb and flow between what exists now versus what was then. Mm-hmm. So my son lives relatively close. He's going to spend the day with me and hang out. My daughter lives on the West Coast. But when they think of Mother's Day, we had a thing called the four wall trifecta. It was Mother's Day, my birthday, and then our wedding anniversary was the next day. That trifecta, yeah, we were not smart to get married the day after my birthday. If you're listening, don't do that. I just don't recommend. And so that's the beginning of the four wall trifecta, and it's broken. Mother's Day still exists, and my birthday does, but all of our memories are encapsulated in our own homemade experience. Yeah. And navigating that looks so different now. I have remarried, and my current husband is very welcoming and supportive, but it's just different. And being able to talk about what happened, what we used to do versus what now is. And thankfully, my current husband doesn't feel some kind of way about us having those stories. He embraces that. But that can be very difficult. And then there's a part of my mind that wonders about the child that I lost, what that would have looked like if all of those children existed. But for me, the month of May, even though I'm excited about my birthday, for the last couple of weeks, I see myself emotionally dissociating and kind of drifting mentally. Another day I was at the orthodontist and a song played and I just crumbled there in the chair trying to keep myself together going, we need to get out of here. And it was a song that made me think of Mark. And then, my husband passed 8 years ago. And I want to say that because there's no, like, the year is over and check, you just go on and life is fine. They're still no longer here. It still hurts. And so those things become all together, not so much Mother's Day focused, but a lot of things surrounding it for me.
Yeah. Yeah. How about you, Andrea? And I know that the answer is partly because your mom just passed. I know that's been particularly tough for you and complicating for Hannah, your daughter, as well. Managing her loss of her grandmother, who was so important in her life.
Yeah, we're a really close family, and I feel really blessed and lucky to have nieces and nephews and my dad and, my daughter and my grandbaby and my son-in-law. Like, we all really deeply love each other. We are not geographically close.
Right.
And so that's really kind of a struggle. It's complex. I think where I landed is that I have another funeral to attend on Saturday. But of a friend of mine, but that is allowing me to make the travel to where my daughter is and to spend Mother's Day with her. I felt that scene with Daniel and Shantae on the Zoom call, because that's so Midwestern dad. And I'm sorry, Steve Sawyer, for listening. My dad is like that too. But because, like, he hasn't even really talked about Mother's Day. Like, he would be more than welcome to drive up and see Hannah. But I don't know if he's going to, or if he's just gonna, my niece and nephew are more local to him, so maybe he'll spend it with them. But but it's kind of like we don't even really talk about it. And so that's hard. It's also, I feel I'm in that sandwich generation right now. I feel that very acutely, that I am monitoring, like, my dad and, like, when my mom was alive, like, how they were handling things and how they were doing. But then at the same time, I want to be there for my daughter and to celebrate her. She has a demanding job and stressful, and my grandbaby and all of that. And so, yeah. And thank you for these comments that are coming in, even while we're having this conversation. Please feel free to keep them coming. But it says, it seems like Andrea has seen grief from all sides, almost all sides. Please, I'm not tempting fate here. And then I don't know anyone who knows how to talk about grief or knows what to say. I think that's pretty normal. We're not born knowing, right? We're not born knowing.
Right.
Yeah. So thank you for that. Yeah.
Can I make a comment about them saying that they didn't? That is such a real thing. And what Andrea said, not until you have really traveled through profound grief do you have the language or the experience to be more sympathetic to someone else. And the other thing is, I don't know how Andrea feels.
Right.
And oftentimes people go, well, she's a widow. Don't they understand? And it's not. My love of empathy has increased because of my lived experience. But what I do know is it hurts. And I do know, and the reason why I don't know how she feels is because her marriage to Brian and Gary were unique relationships. Right. And her uniqueness forms all of that together. My relationship with my late husband, Mark, is unique. Andrea would never say, I know how you feel. I can relate to that. She probably will never say, I can't imagine, because unfortunately she can. So she won't have to use that one. But the reality is, most people don't know what to say unless they've traveled through a really rough road. And what they probably have learned a lot is one of the things that was mentioned, to show up. When whatever, don't promise something you cannot do.
Mhm.
You promising to do something and not doing it is worse than the worst thing you could say.
Mhm.
Because someone that is in grief profoundly, the world is so difficult to show up in.
Yeah.
And when they trust you to believe you're going to do the thing that you say you're going to do, that may be the only thing they're looking forward to brighten their day, because life is so gloomy.
Mhm.
And when you go, oh, this got in the way and da 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 da, and you casually blow them off and don't deliver, it pushes them further back into isolation in a way you would never comprehend. And for the people that are grieving, be patient with the people around you that don't have the language and don't know how to show up. It doesn't equate to them not loving you. It's just that they don't have experience in this arena and they don't have the language. All that awkwardness that you saw, it's natural. They want to show up. Sometimes they need the grieving person to guide them on how to help them.
That's a really, really important point, and something that Andrea and I started this whole conversation way back when we started working towards this grief programming, is that a lot of this is focused on how do we help those who are grieving, right? And these conversations, our goal is to help all of us learn how to help each other when we are in profound grief. And I remember Andrea talking about how the surprise of how few people, or how many people felt awkward about saying anything, and so they said nothing. And on that person's side, I think they are trying to, either they are trying to be gracious and not wanting to hurt the person who is in profound grief, or if they're really honest with themselves, they just don't want to break through that awkwardness. They don't want to say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing. So what would you say to people who want to break through that awkwardness? The people like Shantae before she actually got Vicky in the door. What would you say?
So my advice on that, because I agree so much with everything Tina said about how we have to give grace to people who don't know what to say. And yet, you know, also as grievers, we experience so much abandonment. I have literally only gotten dressed a day because somebody invited me to go out to dinner. Like otherwise I would have laid in my bed all day. And I only got dressed because they invited me out to dinner. And then at the last minute they canceled. And I, you know, and I just know how that, like, it just feels terrible, that abandonment, and it's multiplied. And so I think the balance there between showing up and maybe saying something that is wrong, but we don't want to abandon them. And also the griever not necessarily knowing how to guide their own care and comfort. I think the balance there is about listening and communication. Because if I have a friend who is so close to me, like I count Tina and Bonnie among these people, if I have a friend who is so close to me that they say something that hits me the wrong way, and I can say, you know what, that hit me the wrong way. I bet you didn't mean it that way. And they are able to receive that from me in my, you know, emotionality, then I feel comfortable saying it. If it, you know, be the kind of friend that will take feedback from your grieving person if it sounds wrong, or if, you know, like, hey, I would prefer maybe, you know, this or whatever, and be there and have that two-way street of communication where you can talk, they can talk, and you listen. You know, you accept that feedback in a loving way. And that really is a closeness. And I want to say that I have had people show up like that for me. People that I did not know. I didn't know Tina before I lost Brian, or people that I did not know well before I went through this, who have shown up for me like that. That I can say, you know, or I need more of, and they will do that for me. Yeah.
Yeah. So Tina, what would you say to somebody who is wanting to cross that threshold and is scared to approach somebody because it's awkward or they don't want to upset them?
That is an excellent question. I'm a Marvel person, and in one of the scenes of a Marvel movie, they asked the Hulk, asked David Banner, "How are you able to turn into the Hulk so quickly? Because I thought you had to be mad." And his response is, "I'm always mad." Mark is always dead. There is nothing you're going to say that's going to make him more dead. Let's just be clear about that.
Right.
And let me tell you, the dark humor runs very high in the grieving community. So your grieving friend may say some things and you're like, well, okay, haha, do we laugh at that?
Right.
Because they're not the same person.
Right.
They are not the same person because they were part of that person when they're with their spouse or their mother or their child. I love how Shantae was willing to be awkward with her friend coming over versus ignoring it. And it can simply be when she comes over, go, "I don't know what to do, but I miss you. And this is awkward and I've never been here before. And if there's anything you want me to say or not say, but I just want to start the conversation because I've not been here before." And that may just take the pressure out of the room or out of the space to literally say, because the reality is what Andrea may need versus what I need is two totally different things.
Yes.
So there's no cookie cutter answer that I could say, always do this, but I can say, show up, be honest. And sometimes we don't even want to talk about the dead stuff. We just want to watch TV, go to the movies, hang out. When she talked about she was on vacation, I was like, nobody was on vacation. She was just tired of being in the house where her daughter lived and breathed and seeing her daughter's image someplace and changing locations.
Yeah.
So something Andrea said about the people you know closely, you know enough to have that awkward conversation. Right. You've chosen to be their friend, then step out of your comfort zone. One of my friends told me, her name is Chris, when Mark passed, she said, "I loved you too much to not know how hard this was." And she did not want to run away from it because she loved me too much to just let me go through it by myself. Don't let them go through it alone. It is painful enough. They have lost this person. Don't let them lose you too.
Yeah. I think that's really wise. I think, the other theme that came up in the scenes, in the scene with Shantae and Vicky, and then in the last scene with the father and daughter, is also the trust building. If it's awkward between us and we both say it's awkward between us, then we know we're being honest with each other.
Speak the truth.
If it's awkward between us and I'm pretending it's not, then that's not building trust. And I think it went the same way with Daniel to Shantae and back to Daniel, between the son or the daughter and father scene. But it's kind of like you're building a new part of your relationship with that person, a new phase. And
I agree, because you are building a new phase of that relationship because you're not the same person anymore. Just like Tina said, the relationship has to change because I've changed.
Yeah.
I'm different.
Yeah.
And I love that this text comment came in and said, "Isn't being there more important than what you say to the person grieving?" And honestly, when it comes down to it, it really is. Showing up is the number one most important thing, I would say.
And I want to expound a little bit more on Andrea saying we're not the same person, because that can seem bizarre to somebody to think you're not this. Well, you are the same person, aren't you? But my life, my coming home from work, who I talked to, everything I experienced was around my husband. I'm leaving work. You want me to stop at the grocery store? You want me to do this? You want me to do that? You're cooking dinner, the casual conversation. It's all gone. It's all gone. the child that you're missing, that laughter of that child in the house is no longer there. Maybe calling your mother when you have an important event happen and you want to get your mom's celebration.
Yeah.
We are operating in the void of that person's existence, and our go-to is gone and the silence is loud. I may look the same exteriorly, but think about all the things that are absent, and I'm trying to navigate this life that I'm left to continue in their absence, and it's off. It's like being in the matrix and you don't know what's going on and everything in the sliver is changed. And that mental struggle of trying to navigate life as what's left and still trying to show up is very hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And thank you for also sharing, Tina, about your miscarriage in response to the comment that was made during the show, because I think that also speaks to the other kinds of grief people have around Mother's Day. And there were several years that I was dealing with infertility. And it's one of those, as I was thinking about sharing that, I thought, well, but that's not the same. And it's, it's not the same as losing it. Well, my grief is my grief. And how I experience that is going to be how I experience it. And comparing doesn't help. But it was years that Mother's Day was a silent, horrible event for me. And not only that, but never becoming a mother, which I'm fine and happy with now, was really hard during those days of celebration. And the reason I bring it up is because I think in these conversations, I always want to remember people also who have silent pain or things that people don't know about them, and just expanding our general awareness, I think, is an important part of what we do as well.
I would agree, because we don't know someone else's story. We make assumptions and we think we know, but there's a part of us that we always are very apprehensive to be transparent about, because will rejection happen? Will someone belittle my situation or act like become dismissive? And I've allowed you to be able to see into my life and my pain. But a lot of things that we grieve, things that did not happen. There could be, with a parent of losing a child, they never got to see them graduate. They never got to see them get married. All these things that, the couple that's older and they were planning on finally having the children out of the house and being empty nesters, or all the things that happen, Andrea having this grandchild and them not being able to see it. Grief does not end. It carries on. We learn, hopefully, to live in that process. Yeah. As you've learned to be like, I can go on trips. I ain't got to change diapers. We try to find the rainbow, right. But in the beginning, no one sees us crawling through the hot lava. They see us now and it looks like everything's okay, but they don't see the process.
Yeah.
Hi, Sylvia. Joining us. Yes, thank you for saying that, Tina. You're absolutely right. I completely agree with that. And I think to the point of what you were saying, Bonnie, is that now you are happy with your life, but would you have been happy with it if you didn't allow yourself to grieve what you lost?
Right. And that grief was very private. And I think that is an element of infertility and miscarriages, or any of that, is something that we as women carry a lot of shame around too, even though we don't deserve it somehow. And I think, part of bringing this up is also just the more we practice our empathy, the more we encourage people to try to have difficult conversations, to try to share in safe spaces, the more I feel that we're ready when things happen to us. Because as Tina started out with, if you're lucky enough to have many loving relationships, then you're going to be unfortunate enough to have lost a lot of those. And I feel like it's almost comes back to what we started with, Andrea, in starting this in the first place, is having these conversations and helping people to understand how to help each other with somebody else's grief helps us really learn how to help us with our own.
Our brains don't know the difference between rehearsal and performance. And so that's why we do these picture this shows, is so that when you are telling something to a stranger, when you are telling something to our character in our scene, we're really telling it to ourselves.
Yeah.
And I just admitted that I need picture this in my own life. So anyway, yes, Tina, what?
I wanted to bring up two things that Bonnie just mentioned. The ability to hold a safe space for somebody. It doesn't take being a professional. It doesn't take have experienced profound grief. It is literally just being there and not being judgmental about what they say. You may be in a situation where someone you went to church with, and now they're saying that they are mad at God and all the things that are going on. Just hold the space how they're feeling. It's not a moment to judge them. It's not a moment to assess them. It's just to let them feel how they feel and be honest about that. The other thing that you mentioned that I think warrants a conversation is some of the sexism that does go on in this grief process, from maybe learned behavior or society expectations, where, as you talked about the miscarriage, that is my femininity and who I am as a woman based on my ability to be pregnant or not, or if your spouse passes, men get a different response when they say they're dating versus a woman going out and dating. All those things, they're a part of this process. And a lot of times we're saying things that we've just heard other people repeat, but we don't realize they land very shallowly and they don't provide really help. I just wanted to bring those two up.
No, I think those are really, really important pieces as well. We're going to wrap up this conversation that I could talk to you all for hours and hours and hours and hours, and I hope to do that as life goes along. I wanted to bring up one resource, and then I'm going to ask you all each to talk about the resources you offer through TikTok, through, I know, Tina, you have a lot of resources, and a lot of people who are going to watch this are going to need to have that ongoing conversation. We always try to make sure we offer resources so we don't just open up feelings and leave people stranded. One of the resources that we recommend, and one of the people who developed this program with us, is called This Is Hard. I don't know What I Say When Loved Ones Die by John Swanson. He's a hospital chaplain, and it's a really simple, really amazing resource. And I would recommend it for anybody who's going through their own grief, because most of us are going through some kind of grief or another, or somebody who's more interested in learning how to help other people with their grief as well, because it has a lot of good responses and opens up your mind to how that grieving process can affect your life. But yeah, Tina and Andrea, would you please share with everybody where they can find you and where they can keep this conversation going?
You can thank you, Bonnie, for allowing me to participate and share. You can find me at widowhoodrealtalkwithtina.org. When you go to our website, you can select events, and a couple of events that for you to be aware of. We have a monthly men's only grief support group, which is the second Thursday of the month. Actually was going on while we were doing this. And that grief support is held by a widower. And he handles that. I host a grief support group on the last Thursday of the month. And if you go to our website, the information is there. Some events are virtual and some are in person. We have our next event coming up is our butterfly release ceremony here in Norfolk, Virginia. That is a free event, and you can register on Eventbrite, because we wanted to make sure that every person received a journal and also be able to release a butterfly during that event. We have a virtual event, which is called Walk for Love, and that is the first full week of August, and you are asked to walk 1 mile a day, whether it's in home or with whatever your medical device or however you move your body. It may be walking at home, and then post walk for love in your loved one's name. It is an opportunity that week for people to just see people around the world posting and sharing about their loved ones, because oftentimes we want to speak about them, but we don't know if people want to listen. But that Walk for Love week gives people an opportunity. And also when you're grieving, you isolate. And this is an opportunity to get outside and exercise and get all that vitamins from the sun. And then we have an event coming up the first weekend of December, which is the Real Widowhood Weekend Retreat. And we are going to be in Atlanta, Georgia. It is a small, intimate group. But if you're interested, you can email me, go to our website. It is an amazing event that we're planning to be together and just to nurture ourselves and let our light shine again, because grief can dim you. And we are here to create community. And I'll also say we have an event called Dealing with Grief during the holidays, because the holidays present a whole nother jam when it comes to grief. And we have mental health professionals that come together, and that is a virtual workshop. But if you go to our website, you can see that. And we have a podcast that is aired every Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts. And Miss Andrea over here was a guest, and she spilled some tea. So if you want to learn some things about her, I advise you to go check out our podcast.
Yeah, thank you for that. I can vouch for Tina's resources. They have benefited me greatly. I am not any kind of mental health professional, but I do share my life on TikTok. I am at My Twice Widowed Life on both TikTok and Instagram. And I will be honest with you, it's a good thing that I work in the arts, because none of this is safe for work, okay? My content is very raw and unfiltered in those places, but I found that I say the things that I wish someone had said to me sometimes, even if it's the contrary thing or whatever, like,
especially somebody gets in her comments wrong.
Yeah, right. I will take someone to church if I need to. Figuratively. So definitely do find me there. And of course, the Sapphire Theatre Company, where you've watched this, we provide Picture This programming on a variety of social issues topics. And if that's something that is interesting to you, please reach out to me. I am the program manager, and I will be safe for work in those.
Well, I love you too. I appreciate you both. Thank you so much for being here tonight. And for all of you who have been with us this whole time, we thank you. I'm going to give you our resource page one more time for the Sapphire Theatre Company. And we hope to see you at our next virtual program.